because of policies. And I think that gives credibility for some of the research work. Coming to whether India can catch up, I think there's two aspects. One is the pure productivity, getting output, running it like a machine. I think China is far ahead of India right now. And that's going to be tough for us to compete with. The other area, and which is where I see the outsourcing model evolving to, is to actually solving therapeutic problems. I don't want 100,000 compounds, but I want to get the compound that's going to solve my, my disease problem right now. And for that, you need a lot more, I think, debate, a lot more creativity, a lot more interaction. The English language that India has helps. So I think that's where the outsourcing model will evolve towards. And I think India has an opportunity there. But we have to capitalize on that opportunity and build for it.
Yeah, I think very nice points brought up. I'd just like to add that, when we stratify our customers, particularly in the discovery phase, largely we work with big pharma. We have significant but much smaller business with specialty pharmas. And then, we do work with a lot of biotechs, but usually they're small collaboration size. So when you look at the whole outsourcing universe, you see that big pharma continues to play a massive role in terms of bringing in large number of scientists that can be deployed on their projects. So from a big pharma standpoint, I think more and more the companies are choosing to work in China, largely because as Mani just said, they have the scale, they have the infrastructure, scientists that have had Western training. All of that tend to give them confidence in working with one partner who can do a lot more, can basically deliver in different domains. And I think that's something that I think the Chinese have been working on quite successfully. I wouldn't say that China is process-oriented, therefore we cannot come to the same efficiency standards and productivity standards they are, because we have benchmarked it and we've seen that we can do it. We do have some disadvantages when it comes to securing, starting materials for synthesis, etc. So there are still some small efficiencies that need to happen as we get more and more companies, supplying such chemicals from within India. China is a little bit ahead of that. But once we come to, cycle times and trying to replicate their cycle times versus ours, I think we are very, very, close, if not better in some regard. But what we do suffer from is, although we have 3 or 4 very large CROs, the rest of the CROs really don't have scale here. If you compare that in China, there's a lot more companies that have scale, and thereby they seem to be attracting the largest part of the outsourcing market, which is a big pharma. Clearly, I think Mani has made an excellent point about the fact that CROs in China play a very strong role in drug discovery and development within the country. As opposed to, if you look at India, we have a lot of pharma companies that do have research that is, innovative research that is going on there. Those companies very rarely work with Indian CROs. They usually have their own scientific force, and if I ask each of us here, we have a very small part of that business, whereas in China, clearly there is more. And of course, one thing that we must, admit that, the economic miracle of China is so far ahead of India that, companies are getting there not just because they want to use the Chinese people and their capabilities, but because that's where the market, the future market of pharma is going to be. So they want to be well positioned there, both with their own infrastructure in some cases, in other cases having relationships that are strategic and large, so that they can really position themselves in that market, not just as a CR, somebody that is looking at outsourcing alone, but actually looking at what that market has, the potential that it has for the future.
I think it's a very good point actually raised by the entire panel. There are two things which I really would like to highlight. One is the local opportunities, and second is the reverse brain drain. Because we are just doing an analysis of the pharmaceutical market, and in India currently it is roughly around $24 billion. Vis-a-vis China, it is $36 billion. And by 2015, China would be $100 billion. India is talking only about a 36 to a $40 billion. So yes, we are talking about catching up, but we are not even analyzing where would China be in those next 3 or 4 years or 5 years. So probably this gap, will it keep on widening or will it shorten up? Any comment from the panel, the audience here, who would like to add some points to what the panel has just made? Yeah, please.
Yeah. A big pharma is reducing its scientific, R&D, scale. And they are shifting to what they call S&D model, which is search and develop. And they are looking at licensing deals in the first place rather than, acquisition. So I believe the low-hanging fruits have already been taken up, and licensing deals are being sought for earlier and earlier stage development. And that is why they have, this position which they have recently come up with is external R&D. So I would like to know from the panel, is this an opportunity for Indian CROs? And if yes, what are the challenges?
I absolutely believe it's an opportunity. As I said in my earlier comments, the outsourcing market is going to shift from not just having a number of FTEs doing chemistry or biology for you, but actually being able to source in a molecule that makes sense. You called it in licensing. There's various other models for it. Pharma traditionally, if you look at pharma model, the big pharma model, traditionally they have had internal teams producing the pipeline, or they've gone in the last 10 years to biotechs to develop that pipelines. They've been licensing the molecules in from biotechs. I think this is where you see the rising importance of CROs. I think CROs can be like biotechs if they create certain cells focused on certain therapeutic areas. But the advantage CROs can offer, especially in India, in addition to the low cost, is the resourcing model, which biotechs don't have. Biotechs tend to be virtual, and they have to then outsource to CROs. But kind of within a CRO, you can have an arm which is like a biotech, where you have deep therapeutic area focus, but they tap into the CRO business to resource them to go up and down and produce molecules. And I'm sure you'll start seeing deals where pharma now starts in-licensing from CROs directly, and you'll start seeing that. Another comment is, the other thing pharma has started doing very actively, especially in target identification, target validation, they're moving towards academic research there. Just yesterday, I was in conversation with a big pharma company. They're saying, we have invested a lot in academic collaborations and professors coming up with new targets. And we don't want to bring these targets back into the pharma company, because then we get encumbered by all of the problems that pharma has, the resourcing issues, etc. So why don't you, GVK Bio or one of the CROs, work directly with those academics, and they work directly with you, and you resource them, and you come up with a molecule, and then there's various business models of how you can source that. So I think you're starting to see the beginnings of different models emerging. And like you said, I believe absolutely that CROs will start competing with the biotechs in future, and rather than seeing FTE deals, you'll start seeing in licensing deals happening.